The best views over the city of Kodiak are from the top of Pillar Mountain. Nestled at its foot, the airport is vulnerable to bad weather. There are several roads leading out of town. Although they ultimately all dead end, they run further than most roads in this part of the world. We take a drive and encounter a herd of buffalo and this rather beautiful fox who is reluctant to move off the road. We pass the aerospace launch complex. This sign means what it says. We later learn that a few months earlier, a rogue rocket had to be destroyed 4 seconds after takeoff, leaving quite a mess. We explore Fossil Beach. We don't find any fossils, but the tortured landscape with its jumble of fractured rocks is clear evidence of Kodiak's violent volcanic heritage. Few outside this area, including ourselves, are aware of the cataclysmic eruption which occurred on the Katmai Peninsula in 1912. Novaruptor was 10 times stronger than the eruption of Mount Helens, seen here on the left of this diagram, and injected twice as much matter as the 1883 explosion of Krakatoa. The city of Kodiak was smothered in a cloud of ash so dense a lantern held at arm's length could not be seen. In places the ash was head high. Following the eruption, thousands of steaming fumaroles created what came to be known as the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. Even today, ash can clearly be seen on the mountain slopes in Katmai. On Good Friday, 1964, Alaska was struck by a monster earthquake, generating huge tsunamis, which caused widespread destruction. In Kodiak, everything below the orange line in this picture was devastated. Vital fish processing facilities were wiped out, so a World War II Liberty ship was brought out of retirement to act as a temporary processing plant. It still serves that purpose today. In 1989, exactly 25 years later, also on Good Friday, Kodiak suffered another calamity when the Exxon Valdez ran aground in Prince William Sound. This disaster devastated the fishing industry, upon which Kodiak depends for its survival. Determined not to allow our problem with the windlass to deprive us of another bear encounter, we take a charter flight down to the southern end of the island. At the Seahawk facility, we are kitted out in thigh-length waders before boarding our float plane. Our pilot takes us down the east coast over Three Saints Bay. The view from the air emphasizes the ruggedness of the shoreline. It is certainly not one you want to bump into on a dark night. We fly over some of the same areas we had traversed by boat and onto Dog Salmon Creek and Fraser Lake, where we land and wade ashore. To reach the fish pass, we need to hike about 3/4 of a mile along a muddy track, which, to judge from this footprint, is also a bear highway. Until the fish ladder was constructed in 1962, salmon were backpacked individually, one at a time, past the falls and into the lake. 2 mother bears, each with 2 cubs, are trying their best to snag salmon, with limited success. Actually, the mother is doing all the hard work, while the cubs prefer the salad bar. This scruffy-looking male caused family groups to keep well clear of him, but he will be chilly in the winter unless he acquires a better coat. All fish coming up into the lake are monitored and counted. Close to 500,000 salmon from Fraser Lake contribute to the overall harvest in this area.
I'm hoping to spend a couple of more days once we're anchor loaded.
We return to Kodiak along the west coast of the island. We pass deep fjords, notorious for their fierce katabatic winds, known as willy wars. We skirt high mountains and magnificent scenery. The flight provides a unique overview of this rugged island. Back in Kodiak, the wind is blowing and the rain arrives just in time to interfere with the installation of the new motor, which has been flown up from Vancouver Island. The next morning we take on 1,285 gallons of diesel at one of the fuel docks. With our tanks full, we bid farewell to Kodiak, but being still ahead of schedule and with a favorable weather window coming up, we take time to visit the islands just to the north of the main island. We pull into Saposa Bay on Afognik Island, much to the annoyance of this very vocal sea otter who objects to our presence. This rocky outcrop teems with wildlife, including seals, tufted puffins, and kittiwakes. We next take the big tender up a shallow river. We go ashore and hike beneath trees draped with primordial moss. Along the trail we see wild roses and horsetail plants described as living fossils, unchanged for millions of years. We fortify ourselves with salmon berries. We meet Jen at the weir, where she and her partner count returning sockeye salmon, even removing individual scales, which, like tree rings, can be used to determine the age of the fish from which they came.
They're all sockeye.
Fireweed is just starting to bloom, heralding the end of summer. From here, our route takes us across the very heart of the Gulf of Alaska. For such an exposed ocean crossing, a suitable weather window is imperative. We arise early and secure the galley for sea, making good use of our multi-purpose pot holders. At 5 a.m., under a beautiful dawn, we forsake the land and strike out directly across the Gulf to Sitka, 560 nautical miles distant. The day closes with a glorious sunset. We are 150 miles from the nearest land, but consisting entirely of remote and rugged islands, not the sort of land to which you would want to get too close. We run watches of 2 hours on and 6 hours off. Following seas make for a comfortable ride aboard Venture, with her hard chines and long keel. We make landfall at Salisbury Sound on the mainland and anchor in Sukhoi Inlet at noon on the second day, having covered 560 nautical miles after 55 hours, 34 minutes underway. We decide not to head directly to Sitka, but pass down Neva Strait and through Whitestone Narrows into De Groff Bay for our second night. Overnight the rain departs, and we make our way to the offshore Santa Lazaria Islands, home to over 500,000 breeding seabirds. Prominent Mount Edgecombe is totally devoid of snow, as are all the mountains this year. We anchor in an unnamed bay on the south side of Magoon Island and use the tender to explore nooks and crannies. Finally, it is time for us to make our way to Sitka. Although the area had been settled by the Tlingit for thousands of years, the present town was founded by the Russians in 1804 with the name of New Archangel. When purchased by the US in 1867, it was renamed and until 1906 was the state capital. Venture looks quite at home between two working boats. It will take another 10 days to cover the remaining 600 miles to our starting point on Vancouver Island. When we finally arrive, we will have covered 5,000 nautical miles over a period of 4 months.